Hello everyone, come one, come all, come in general. This is Top Knot Analysis and it has been a while since I've done some actual analysing. Let's fix that, shall we? Welcome to Scene Remix, the show where I take a scene from a film, show, game or play I like and just start fudging with it until we get something different. Not necessarily better, but I'll certainly try, at least it'll get my creative juices in the circulations. Today we're doing the Kill Bill Superman monologue from Volume 2 because it is awesome. So, here's the initial mission statement for the things I wanted to get across in my version, or if you're so inclined, you can just skip ahead to the timestamp shown above if you just want to skip to the fun times. Number 1, going to test out with writing verbal sparring in a back and forth type template. Also, make something possibly good, hopefully. I have to rework my writing muscles a little bit, and not just for my grip strength, if you know what I mean. Seamless integration. As much as I do want to eventually find my own artistic style, I think being able to at least possibly emulate some parts of other individuals' auteur stamps could be very good for, say, if I were to try writing in a house style for some other company or individual. And last but certainly not least, we have what I like to call the Notice Me Senpai Barometer, which is to say, in the 0.1½ chance that Quentin Tarantino were to stumble on this video, hi, I sincerely hope that I at least end up getting a mildly approving nod of, look at this new generation today, they're certainly trying. Good for you, my dude. Baseline context for the uninitiated. Kiddo is an ex-assassin who tried to escape her past life of crime only to be killed by her ex, the titular Bill, who is going to be killed. They are now in Bill's house while having a little chinwag, and Bill shoots her with truth serum. Shenanigans ensue. So, without further ado, let's put my spin on this scene, shall we? Ah, you're calling me a superhero. I'm calling you a killer. A natural-born killer. And no matter how much beer you drank or how fat your ass got, it'd just be a matter of time before you came back to what you're good at. Kiddo scoffs almost cheerfully. Working for you again? I'll take your fucking heart out after this. You could try. But even if you did, big if, I know. Worst case scenario is you take my place. Head of the snake, right where you started before that bum in El Paso. Kiddo's glare intensifies for a moment before softening into a wry smile. No. I'd say I'm sorry to disappoint you, but... She hurls the dart back at Bill, lodging into his shoulder. Bill is unflinching, but a sense of sorrow briefly passes over him before returning to calm stoicism. Well, I appreciate your candor. Removes the dart. Wish I could say the same for you. Kiddo lays back comfortably into the sofa. I'm sorry you feel that way. Please, lay my lie before me and we'll straighten things out. Well, here's my million-dollar question. Bill smiles kindly. Riddle me this, Batman. I am strong, kind, and stand by truth, justice, and the all-American way. What am I? Bill chuckles. I already said I don't think you're Superman. Clark fucking Kent. Bill takes a step back, clearly surprised. I'm listening. Clark Kent may be clumsy and a bit of an oaf, but do you really think he becomes any less invincible when he takes the suit off? And do you really think Superman puts on the glasses and suit to mock us? Yeah, I'm sure the super strong, super fast superhero only looks out for regular folk to take the piss. You'd think that, wouldn't you? Bill's expression slowly widens into a state of childlike wonder. Oh, I never thought. And do you think Superman stands for truth and justice? No, you got it backwards. Because Superman, Clark Kent, is a reporter. Kiddo gets increasingly passionate and flustered, leaning forward. Truth and justice are literally in the goddamn job description. So don't tell me you know where my so-called natural tendencies will take me, because do you think you're Clark Kent?
No!
Kiddo smacks her hand across her mouth in terror and sadness. Bill sighs in relief. No, but it's okay. I know you do your best. Beatrice lowers her head, breathing heavily. Especially for the little kiddo of your own. After a sharp breath, Kiddo silently raises her gaze back to Bill. Even if it meant working in a used record store, going to movies with Tommy, clipping coupons, trying to disguise yourself as a worker bee, but you're not. You're a killer bee, and nothing in the world will ever change that. So, since the serum is working...
First question. Did you really think your life in El Paso was going to work?
Ma-la-la-la! This video was brought to you by Jang Jang's Barbecue Jerk Sauce and Marinade. Kinda. Long story short, I tasted his sauce at a food market and it was like the final pure being on the face of the earth. Unfortunately, as I was about to leave, I accidentally smashed it, and not in the fun way. But we have a happy ending in that Jang Jang was very kind to provide me with another one free of charge as long as I paid for delivery. So I'm not being technically paid to sponsor, but either way, I love this stuff and hopefully you will too. Jang Jang's marinades come in various flavours ranging from mild to the inevitable heat death of the universe, which I love, and even if your favourite spice is flour, you can still find something that works for you. Not to mention we even have rum spiced flavour, which is the current one that I'm using in this video. It's also a very flexible savoury accompaniment. You can use it for burgers, chips, nachos, crackers, both of them, roast veggies, pot-cooked meals, salads, and more. It literally does what it says on the tin, let me tell ya. Take care now, bye-bye then, and I will talk to you later.
Memories broken, the truth goes unspoken. I've even forgotten my name.
I'm not going to analyse the original scene, mostly because, well, frankly, I don't have anything spicy to say about it other than it's well acted, well written, etc., etc. So instead, I'll do a little bit of a book report on the pros and cons of my own little fanfiction moment. Or more aptly...
It's an appraisal. You can't just go around opting out of critical analysis by preemptively declaring yourself pointless.
I can't.
No.
So, in terms of the mission statement, verbal sparring, Could be better, could be worse. At the very least, I think I did keep the bride's character consistent based on her adventures in the films. I could have maybe given Bill a bit more dialogue. However, in terms of how I imagine the scene, it would essentially be Bill gives the Superman dialogue pretty much entirely unchanged, followed by the rest of the scene that I made up. So, yeah, needless to say, scene additions doesn't quite have the same ring as scene remix, but whatever, it's cool. And for obvious reasons, because that initial monologue is very Bill heavy, guess it makes sense that it's not the end of the world, that the bride ended up getting a bit more meat on her bones in this specific rewrite I did. While I wouldn't say the bride is a bland character by any means, I would agree with the sentiment that she is simple in the same way that a sword is simple. Which is to say, I think making her a bit of a comic nerd for the purposes of my scene remix works pretty well for two main reasons. One, Bill is her ex, so it makes sense that they would at least have some shared interests aside from indulging in the old kung fu kickflips and hyper-violence. Second is that in the original version of the scene, Kiddo generally just agrees with most of what Bill has to say, and I wanted to use the sort of differences in comic book readings as an allegory for essentially a sort of philosophical battle between the two of them. In terms of the original scene, largely paraphrasing, Kiddo's position essentially comes down to, okay, yeah, you're a murdering I'm a murdering I may have done a lot of bad juju, but at the same time, my daughter doesn't deserve to be a part of that, and so you don't deserve to make her a part of that, and therefore, you. Which isn't bad, but again, the whole point of this scene series was to do things differently, not necessarily better, but nice to explore different avenues this scene could have been done. Bill also uses a lot of bioessentialist, almost turf-like rhetoric with regards to his original monologue, you know, the bride is a killer bee trying to disguise herself, the fact that when she wakes up in the morning and no matter what she does, she'll always be a trained, hyper-competent killer queen. Yes, we stan. Slay. So that, combined with the opposing Superman readings, was essentially the primary starting focus of where I started writing this scene from. In the words of Tarantino himself, though, the best art is steal, so in the spirit of crediting my sources, a lot of my inspiration for how I rejigged the Superman philosophy element of this was actually borrowed by the good folks at Overly Sarcastic Productions. Highly recommend their two-part series on the writing and satirizing of Superman stories. The main thing I was trying to pull on was that Superman is Clark Kent as a person. And ironically enough, if Bill really wanted to make a bigger point out of what he was trying to get at, Batman would have been the better character to pretend that the bride was, because of this scene.
Tell me something. Why were you so sure those voices weren't coming from you?
Well, first, I know I'm not psychotic.
I hope your other reason's more convincing.
And second, the voice kept calling me Bruce. In my mind, that's not what I call myself.
What do you call yourself? Oh yeah, I suppose you would. But that's my name now.
Tell that to my subconscious.
So, at this point, there were 3 wolves engaging in a no-strings-attached polyamorous orgy pile, just getting right up in there in all sorts of directions inside of me. Wolf the first, Superman is Clark Kent. Wolf the second,
Clark Kent is Superman's critique on the whole human race.
and Wolf the third, I wanted to explore the dialogue between Wolves 1 and 2 without making Bill look like a punk, essentially. So, in order to have my cake and eat it too, my idea was to use the truth serum as a device more overtly. Specifically, the bride still gets the philosophical moral victory in the verbal back and forth, but also she still ends up coming out not well because she just is self-conscious and anxious enough to be concerned that she might not live up to her own ideals. With that said, I do get how trying to communicate all of that might have come off as a bit wibbly-wobbly or unclear, so if you watched the scene before this part, like, please tell me, were you able to pick up on things or was it, like, Confucius? Other thoughts. I really wanted to also play up a little bit the fact that Bill was jealous of Tommy. However, in hindsight, didn't really have to go that far. Also, bum in El Paso. No, this isn't Mickey from Rocky. I should have changed that. Other small pin of lampshading coming in terms of how the bride was able to call herself Clark Kent in the beginning scene only to not to do it again, the way I was thinking was because she phrased it as answering a riddle. Essentially that was her trying to be clever and get around it essentially. So, not technically lying, but maybe that didn't come across. I hope it did though. So yeah, overall I'd say I largely passed my own criteria for the baselines, and looking forward to getting more ambitious and maybe refining this series more in the future. Hope you all enjoyed. Take care now, bye bye then, and I will talk to you later.